there's a podcast I listen to that they literally just sometimes cut off their beginning. They're like, all right, that's enough banter. So banter section. Yo, Lucas Melby here. I got a story.
What's your story, Lucas?
Whoa, who are you?
I'm Jacob Telejohn.
And there's another breathy person in the room.
Dustin checking in once again.
Oh, Dustin.
Let's go.
How's the audio sounding, everybody? Who knows? We'll find out at the end of the episode. But I think I talked about it. New Year's resolution. Trying to stay running, trying to stay fit.
Are you fit and tight, Lucas?
But we live in Minnesota. I used to have a treadmill that then broke. So I've had to be running outside. It broke before the winter, but this entire winter I've been running outside so far. Except for some days where it's been like negative 30 or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, like, keep in mind, people, it's like negative 30 out.
Yeah,
and
like,
icy.
And icy. Slippery.
And yes, the ice, that's the key thing here. And I don't want to be like, I'm a runner, because I'm not. I do not identify as a runner. There was a guy at work, opening round, is something about how you stay warm. He's well, us runners, you know what we say, when it's cold out, we put a hat on. I'm like, get a load of this fucking guy.
When you run, do you run in place when you have to stop for cars and lights and stuff? No, you're not.
So maybe
committed.
I should have done that for this circumstance.
Uh-oh.
So we've had lots of ups and downs. We've had a lot of snow really so far this winter. Minnesota, am I right? As I stumble over that. Minnesota, am I right? But then we've had it really cold. So like I didn't run for a few days recently because it was so cold. But then we had a probably like 40-degree temperature swing where it's like, oh, now it's warm and everything's melting. But we had also gotten freezing rain in between at some points. But it's like, oh, well, if the sun isn't on a certain side of the street, then it's just like sheer ice. So I was running down this hill and I almost fell.
Oh,
but then I recovered. I slid down and I'm like, oh, it's good. And it was like a 4-way stop. And usually I cross there, but there's too many cars. So I'm like, oh, I'll just go down the street a bit and then cut over. And then I just went down and like must have been like just sheer ice on some concrete, and it seemed like a split second that I was just like down on the ground. My glasses flew off. I had my phone in my hand, so that flew away. An AirPod popped and like the wind was knocked out.
You were able to recover it all though?
It wasn't into traffic?
No, it was just on the sidewalk. Okay. And yeah, that was about 3 days ago at this point.
You found the pod, you found your phone, you found everything.
Yeah, just some superficial scratches on my phone. But yeah, it was not good.
Yeah, falling's not fun when you're almost 30.
No.
And yeah, I haven't really fallen like that. I don't know. And I feel like I must not have been whiplash because like I'm already starting to feel fine. But it kind of felt like minor whiplash.
Did you fall backwards?
Yeah, I fell onto my back.
Okay.
And I don't think I hit my head because I think my head whipped forward and that's why I was kind of sore. So
yeah, I had a similar experience. I was cleaning up like ice and stuff around our house, and like in our driveway there's a little pool of it from the downspout. Same sort of thing. My feet went out, landed on my back shoulders, and like
and I think some of it was that I was just riding high because I had just recovered from not falling. And I'm like, oh, fucking got this.
You let down your guard
because it didn't even seem like there's spots where people didn't shovel that well, and there'd be like ice there, and I'd like kind of steady myself. But this just seemed like clear sidewalk. It just was covered with a thin layer of ice, and it was no good. But I forgot to say that. I don't self-identify as a runner. I don't like, this is just a personal thing. I don't like people talking about working out because it then makes me feel self-conscious about me not working out. And I've had people like Twitch streamers. I'm like, hey, just play video games. I don't want to hear about your fucking reps or whatever. Or like there's a podcast I listen to who now some guy's trying to become like a gym bro or something. So I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen of the podcast, to not feel self-conscious. This podcast, by the way, being a whole new pod, the podcast all about Disney Channel original movies. I only run to maintain my slightly below overweight status so that I can live long enough to play a lot of video games and watch every Disney Channel original movie until they stop making them. So
who needs more purpose in life than that? Honestly?
And I fell, so that means I just stayed inside for the rest of the week.
You had an excuse. Yeah.
That was partially because I was sore, but partially for safety. I think I'll just go for some long walks this weekend.
Take it down a little bit, Lucas.
Yes. And yeah, all right. That's banter over.
Cut it off.
Don't need to check in with Dustin.
No.
His life, it's like wrestling. Story only happens in the ring. Our lives only happen on the mic here. I see Dustin.
We always say
when he's on here. I think we've talked about this before. Anyways, we had one virtual game night in between the last episode Dustin was on, and now actually no, we went Black Friday shopping. So that was one exception. But yes. This is
a whole new pod.
every 2 weeks. Usually it's me and Jacob. Mostly now it's me and Jacob. We don't talk about our other occasional guests anymore.
No.
But we do like Dustin. He is
Thank you.
our Twitter account, our brand manager.
Brand manager.
He's going to land us that hookup with
Zendaya. Yeah.
I was never brave enough.
He's pushing for
I
it.
had to add her. I mean, it doesn't look like she like tweets very often.
Yeah.
No, I don't think she accesses her own Twitter account. I think somebody else runs it.
You would notice, Jacob, if you ever liked our tweets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like and retweet
Try to
when I
engage
see
it.
you know.
I think her
engage the
Instagram,
audience.
she has personal control over Instagram, but I don't use Instagram. But
No.
I will say, for some reason, Zapped is now in our, I think, top 3 highest downloaded episodes.
Wow.
So I just assume that's Zendaya and her whole organization. They're all downloading and listening
I
to
love
it,
that
assessing
for us.
whether they can set up that
All
interview.
time, already? Just in the
Yeah,
last...
I don't know what happened.
That's pretty wild.
I mean, not that we have crazy numbers, but it's still under wraps. First episode number 1, number 2. Obviously, it's the Jenny Project. Then number 3 is Zapped, and then close around that. I just only beating Camp Rock 2 by download the last time I checked.
So the 13th year isn't anywhere up there at all, even though it's our most viewed YouTube?
Yeah, the YouTube is not always reflective of the downloads.
Interesting.
Are these downloads you're talking podcast downloads?
Yeah, for our hosting site. I think Spotify maybe gets worked in there. It's not super clear, but we've got decent. I think one of the charts said we were we had one day, probably the day where somebody downloaded a bunch, and then we were I don't know. We were charting somewhere. Again, I still question.
We were on the charts, baby.
It's
Let's
a
go.
blip or whatever.
We're top 1,000 movie podcast.
It just, I think, speaks to the dire state of, there's the 1% of podcasts, and then it's kind of like Twitch streamers. It's 95% of Twitch streamers or something have 0 viewers or something like that. So most podcasts nobody listens to. And then ours, occasionally, we get, blips in the downloads.
We love a good blip. If you're out there, if you're listening, download them all. Yeah. Tell your mom, your dad, your sisters.
Zendaya.
Tell Zendaya, most importantly.
All right. Enough banter. We have a heck of a movie, and you can know it's a heck of a movie because why is Dustin here?
Exactly.
Dustin, why were you attracted to today's movie?
Well, the last movie, Zapped, I kind of was looking at the Wikipedia of DCOMs, and that one was it deals with, boys not good. So
Yeah, bad boys.
They're like dogs.
Yeah, right. So I was looking, I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So I looked at the next one, and then this one was how to build a better boy. I didn't really look into it too much, but I was like,
yeah, 2014.
Let's see if I can have some opinions on this one, baby.
2014 is the year the Disney Channel
Boys
said we
are
no
shitty.
longer are trying to appeal to boys. We haven't really for a while anyways, but we're just not going to try.
Boys are
anymore.
icky. Boys are like dogs. Boys aren't good. They
But
could be better.
honestly, compared to Zapped, this movie is not you could describe Zapped as a misandrist movie, not a misogynistic movie. That's the hatred of women. Misandry is the hatred of men.
Yes.
Ironically, I was describing the plot of Zapped to my sister-in-law, who's a playwright and a staunch feminist, and she's like, "Oh, this sounds kind of good, actually." I'm like, "Oh, really? Thinking about brainwashing boys?"
Yes.
And I was like, "Yeah." Well, the basic message at the end is boys aren't all that bad, and it's maybe not good to mind control them. And she's like, "Oh, that's kind of anti-Me Too." I'm like, "No, this is 2014, so it's prior to Me Too, and it's just a little on the nose." But I was like, Zendaya's in it. It's not super great, but
we enjoy just about every movie we do.
But How to Build a Better Boy, you would think based on that, it could be it's essentially weird science, but with girls, or in some ways a Pixel Perfect for Disney Channel, but with girls instead of a boy as the main character. But it's not them coming from a situation of boys all suck, we are going to build a better boy. We're going to tell you how to build a better boy. But it's more boys don't like us, so we'll build a better boy. But let's just get into it. And it won't be immediately clear how this is going to be about building a better boy, because we get a pretty wild opening.
Yeah, a lot of military vehicles are involved here.
We're in DC. We have an establishing shot of the DC skyline, and it feels like it could be an episode of 24 because there's Humvees pulling up, there's electricity popping off everywhere, soldiers are running around with guns and flashlights. There's a general shouting around. This is General McPhee, not McAfee or anything. He's shouting about retrieving a weapon. He's taken along with James Hartley, who will be the the father of one of our main characters. He is played by Roger Bart. Interesting connection with his last name. I just saw now.
Wow, yeah.
Roger Bart, I don't know if there was anything I saw that's like, I know him from this, but he's a face that you feel like pops up in a lot of different things. You've definitely
seen it before. Yeah.
But I saw, very interesting enough, that he was the singing voice of young Hercules in Hercules. So really, I think Hercules maybe only sings Go the Distance. But that's a very good song. So he is the voice of Go the Distance in Hercules. In this, he's kind of a dopey science dad. Kind of breaking new ground. We don't get a lot of dopey science dads. They're shouting at this end of this alley. They're like, we've cornered the fugitives. You're so grounded. You're not going to homecoming. What's this all about? And this is where we meet Mac. Nope, that's not her name. May Hartley, who is played by Kelly Berglund. And Gabby Harrison, who is played by China Ann McClain.
Yeah.
So these are both stars from Disney Channel shows that I knew the names of, but I know nothing about. So Kelly is from Lab Rats, and Gabby is from Ant Farm. Okay?
Yep, we're keeping up.
And Gabby will also see in future, she is somebody in the Descendants movies.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like Gabby, I don't think she's very good at this. She has a lot of comedy lines. She's kind of they're both dorky girls, and we'll get that well established soon.
Yeah.
But she has lots of just lines. Borderline Marvel stuff. She does not get to the point of saying like, well, that just happened, but she's close. But her delivery just dry. Maybe it would have helped if there was like an actual laugh track or something, because it sometimes even feels like there's like pauses for people to laugh at her.
Yes.
But just, it wasn't really working for me. I missed this, but we see 2 days later. Or 2 days earlier.
Oh, yeah. I mean, which would make
They
sense.
really should have had the moment. I've been like, record scratch. Bet you're wondering how we're being hunted down by the military.
Yeah,
As it turns out, these are like the longest 2 days ever. Also.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of activities.
Taking inspiration maybe from 24 as well.
Oh.
Those are some,
long days, huh?
Jack Bauer. He's coming for May and Gabby. So we know that they're dorks because we see them in school, and there's a character, like a side boy who calls them dorks.
Well,
dorks.
they're taking a test, and they finish the test in like a few minutes, and the teacher's even like, "Oh, I don't want to go take another look at what you're doing," and they're like, "No, we're fine. We got to go do these other extracurricular stuff because we're smart."
We got to go do our homework and tutor people.
Yeah, tutor.
And who does May tutor?
Jaden
Stark. Sounds like a boy band member.
Who is the star QB, kind of. I mean, he's a QB of the football team, but apparently we learn later on that the football team is horrible.
Not very good.
So, does it matter that he's the QB? But he's a QT.
Ooh.
Or at least May thinks so.
Yeah.
And she's tutoring him in math. And at the end, he says something that's a little leading on. He's like, "Oh, do you have anything going on around homecoming?" It seems like he's maybe getting up to asking her out, but he doesn't. And then May runs and tells Gabby about this, and Gabby's like, You're a fucking dork.
He would never be into you.
And rival Nevaeh overhears this. Nevaeh, one of the most ridiculous names
Nevaeh Barnes.
for a character. We learn through A Better Boy, maybe, later on, that Nevaeh is actually heaven spelled backwards.
That is true.
Okay, it seems like they kind of wrote that backwards. Be like, let's name somebody heaven spelled backwards.
And make her a bitch.
And then spell it out. Alucard, that's Dracula spelled backwards.
Nilbog,
that's Goblin spelled backwards.
See, I get that reference. She's not very likable. She's a bad person.
Yeah. Basically, it seems like just about every movie we get now has to have like a Regina
Mean
George.
Girl, yeah, like a Mean Girls Regina George kind of thing.
Which I learned that Dustin has never seen.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Yeah, I dropped that bomb on Lucas.
I went
yeah.
He's sort of hyperventilating.
I guess we already did a bit before where I ran through all the movies Dustin hasn't seen. That were all just Disney Channel original movies, I think. So yeah, it's kind of a situation that Nevaeh thinks... Well, she actually believes that Jaden maybe likes May, so then she kind of sets up this situation to embarrass May, where she gathers around like the entire school. It's just like, hey, gather around.
Literally everyone's represented in this posse that she has around them. And then she's like, Yeah, me and Jaden have been dating for 17 days.
17 days, yeah. Big. I'm over 2 weeks.
It's built up as, kind of a bit of a joke of 17 whole days.
And this is going on at a football practice, which Jaden invites May
Oh, yeah,
to.
so actually he had texted...
See you there later.
Later.
With
L-A-T-E-R.
Yes.
Very teen speak.
Capital C, capital U.
Blown up on a phone to make it look like an old person's jitterbug smartphone. Both of these girls, Gabby and May, do wear glasses. So
yes, and to look extra nerdy, yes. So she's excited, like she thinks that he's going to ask her to the dance, homecoming.
So she's like, Nevaeh just says, weren't you going to ask me, Jaden? And he's like,
yeah,
I guess. And then May's like, but what did you want to talk to me about? I was seeing if you could teach me quadratic formulas. They're hard. I don't remember how to do quadratic formulas. But May gets back at Nevaeh in classic fashion by saying, well, actually, I have a super hot boyfriend. You just wouldn't know him because he lives in Alaska.
His name is
Canada.
Albert.
If only it was Canada, because that's where this movie is actually being filmed, even though it's supposed to take place in DC. So there's sometimes shots like in a classroom where they have like green screen or overlay of the windows being like, this is the DC skyline. Every school's inside of the Capitol Rotunda. So they don't really believe her, but she says that this boyfriend's name is Albert.
Which I assume is like a smart joke for Albert Einstein.
Sure, or it's just kind of a weird name. Like, why would you be like, yeah, my hot boyfriend, Albert? Albert, you could say he's a better boy, but this movie has the best boy in May's brother, Bart.
Bart. So Bart, I actually recognized from a Paranormal Activity movie. He was in Paranormal Activity 4.
He's rocking a fit that I think made Jacob a little jealous.
This guy is maybe one of my favorite characters in any DCOM. I think we all thoroughly enjoyed his presence.
Meet Bart. He is wearing a fedora with a Hawaiian shirt.
And he has a taxi cab.
That is unmarked. It essentially looks like the cab that Benny the skeleton drives in Halloween Town. It could even be the same one. Who knows?
I mean, it could be, honestly.
And they're like, it's a taxi cab. And he's like, no, it's not. And this isn't really relevant. It gets paid off in a way in one single joke later on where a guy tries to hail it as if it was a real cab. They go home and they're like, well, we could essentially catfish everybody and create like a fake social media profile for this boy. Which I have in the notes here. Jacob's story about catfishing.
Yes.
Which
Classic,
one?
Iconic.
I mean, there's...
Where do we begin?
I think Jacob literally was like a catfisher before catfishing was an establishment.
I might have
before
invented
the documentary being a thing.
And mostly I would just screw with other people. So we had a buddy named Sean that would sit at our lunch table. He wasn't very avid on social media and stuff like that.
And I think I had talked about him before of being like how fucked, or maybe I don't remember on the podcast, but how fucked up, like, not to be mean, but like Jacob Telejohn, not the coolest guy at school. So for Jacob to then be like, I have to bully this guy who's even less cool than me. Sean now tries to say that he was his friend.
Sean and I played baseball, you know? I mean, Sean and I would sit on the bus,
and
know,
Sean,
for baseball
he was kind
practice.
of a weird kid. I mean, Sean, if you're listening to this, you know, hey, it gets better. Yeah. For some of us. I mean, I'm still here with Jacob Telejohn, so questionable how much better it got. But it wasn't even just that you were bullying Sean with this.
We had me and Jacob initially created this account.
Yeah.
And then Jacob kind of like
added everybody.
Ran wild with it.
Added everybody in the school. The people were wishing him happy. I mean, we weren't like posting. I don't think anything
not Sean's,
crazy.
The other one.
Oh,
George's.
George Ruth. It was like a weird looking baby with like giant ears and like troll-like hair. We were adding everybody out of people that know what it was. Because you got to keep in mind, this is probably like 2007 or something.
2008, 2009.
So I mean, this is like, people are like, what is this? What's going on? Who is this?
But like, and from my perspective, I feel like Jacob used this as a vehicle to talk to girls. Because he couldn't do it on his own profile, so he just wanted to use another profile.
Did you make a girl profile too, or was that somebody else? That was I was going to say somebody else.
He got catfished by using a girl using a girl profile.
But I was going to say, you guys then used Sean, your fake profile, as him, which even had the same profile picture as the actual guy. And then you were messaging kind of like a girl who was kind of like considered like a weird girl too, to be like, hey, I think you're hot or whatever.
Trying to say,
So you were like double bullying people.
I don't even remember that.
She was just being like really nice to be like, no, Sean, it's
I don't even remember who that was. I don't even remember
we
that
can talk
part.
about it off mic,
No.
but I think some of that just then instilled in me that like now not that I ever really was like, oh yes, this person nobody's heard of, George Ruth is like, sure, I'll definitely like believe he's a real person. But that's like where now, I mean, some of it's also just like I have such a little motivation to be like, when I get weird scams being like, oh, are you so-and-so?
Do you want
nope,
Bitcoin?
I think you have the wrong number. Oh, you sure? And then like just sends me like a risque photo. I'm like, I don't. Even if this was real, it's too much energy for me to interact with this random person, so like I'm not gonna believe it. I had a scam just today that somebody was sending me, being like, it's the one where there's no actual message in the email, it's just a PDF, and it's like, you're gonna be charged in broken English for this McAfee security or whatever. But then at the end it said, digitally yours.
Oh.
Which I might
That's
take that
funny.
as a sign off of digitally yours, Lucas Melby.
I like that.
But they decide, back to how to build a better boy, they decide that's not the best way to build a boy. So they aren't going to do a catfish, because everybody would see through it.
Yes.
No offense, Jacob.
Thank you.
But then they decide, or Gabby kind of decides, that we're supposed to believe that May's dad works at this video game company. So they're going to hack into his lab or his developer place and create like an AI. It only makes sense that they would do this if they think they were actually going to make a robotic boy.
Yeah, I don't know what their exact intentions were. I mean, clearly they didn't think like a physical specimen. Like the next day, there's like this Facebook profile that's set up for this character, and they didn't even realize that was going to happen. So I don't know what their exact intentions and what they thought they were doing setting this thing up.
But as they're hacking in, we see that he doesn't really work at a video game company because we cut directly there. I feel like some of this maybe could have worked more fun if we didn't know what they were hacking into at first. And then like at school the next day, they see this real person and there is a bit of a mystery. Yeah. But we know right away we see the dad, he's talking to the general and he's like, I developed this place to make a robot super soldier.
Yeah, I agree with that. They should have postponed, the reveal, because at one point they approach the better boy and kind of, say, oh, are you an actor? Like, were you sent here? Like, you had to study the script that you submitted.
And it's one of those things where...
But like as audience, we already know. It's like, well, we know he's a fucking, like, robot.
And obviously movies can do that. Generally, movies are more interesting than how to build a better place, so that you're okay with looking past, sometimes there's fun with people figuring out the mystery. I don't know. Yeah. But this isn't really that funny.
We're having fun in this movie, though. Already at this point. We were told that this was not going to be, or we were under the impression that this was not going to be a great movie. And we enjoyed it.
So they're filling out this robot's well, they don't know it's a robot. They think they're filling out like this NPC's profile to be like, what is his base of operations?
What attributes does he have?
Yeah, they max out his mind, body, and soul slider. Which I thought that was funny. Because that's always fun to do in character creators, where they actually have physical attributes where it's like, yes, tall, all the way, tall lady, chest size, very big. Feet size, also.
Oh my.
Lip size, her whole face.
Oh my god.
And her skin color is green.
Oh, yes. Gamora.
But then that's why it's weird, because then what do they think they're making? Because Gabby has the line, he's going to be better than 3D. He's going to be 3-delicious.
Oh, I didn't hear that line.
Which then it's like, what do you think you're making if not a super robot guy? And then we get the specific physical attributes. May, what do you want? Oh, brown hair. No, blonde hair and blue eyes.
We looked at each other. Oh, God.
Did Walt Disney's head write this movie? What's going on, Disney Channel? The best boy. They have to be blonde hair, blue eyes. I feel like somebody said that at some point. I just don't remember who. Gandhi. I think Gandhi.
Nelson Mandela.
And then she has like such specifics. It's like, he has to be cute, but he doesn't need to realize he's cute. And I want him to be sensitive and strong, but not like a meathead. And then
so strong.
It's like, oh, girls, what do they want really? I mean, a regular guy like me, I can't compete with Albert. And then she has like some really elaborate thing. She's like, I want him to take me to homecoming. And there'll be a moon in the sky and petals floating in the air and see me from across the room and everybody will look at us. They'll be jealous and then we'll kiss and then
we'll feel like we're the only ones there.
And this amount of data is not only overloading the lab as it's starting to spark
their house,
but there is a shock of electricity that moves through the laptop they're on that knocks her out. And then the dad has like a local network in their house. And that gets completely fried.
Bunch of panels, in his office.
This was also the first time that an actual image of Albert like showed on the laptop because he reached his hand out to like he was like, "Come here, give me a kiss."
Yeah,
and then the
they shock,
touch or something.
They shock and knock onto the floor in a very sensual way.
So then Bart is like, "What the fuck just happened? Why are you going into Dad's office to see that his network's fried?" And that sets up. I mean, Gabby's okay, but Bart's really the prized possession here, where he's like, well, I won't tell my dad or my mom, who just coincidentally happens to be out of town for the entire movie, that you guys fucked up all this shit if you go with me to homecoming, Gabby. And she's like, I don't want to. Really, this movie should have, and I know, at least on Letterboxd reviews, they always love to be like, this person was secretly gay. That was what this movie was about. But Gabby really should have been, like, gay.
Yeah.
But she says, no, I don't want to go to the dance because I don't approve of, like, school-sanctioned activities. And it's like, well, that's a real nerd thing to do. I don't know. I feel like, well, I guess I was kind of that way, too. Because I was pretty smart. You could say I was a pretty better boy.
Wow. The best boy?
But the idea is that not only will Bart cover for them, but then he will also just rebuild this, like, network stack in his dad's office. So we get a bit of a fun scene where his dad rolls in late at night and Bart sets him up in his like chair.
He does like all of his favorite things. Yeah, he makes him, what's that smell? And then he hands him like a cup of tea or something,
it's like sleepy time tea.
Yeah, he sat him down in his lazy boy recliner, got him all comfy, so he wouldn't see the fried out office.
That night, along with when all this stuff was being fried, we had seen a robot body that essentially looked like a crash test dummy or like one of the robots in the Will Smith I, Robot movie.
Yes.
But it goes into a pool, and then there's like vials of different juice. Like literally, it's like, ooh, that's some key lime Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
that gets all pumped in to make his like skin covering. And then he comes to life and has super speed, which I don't believe was one of the attributes they made sure he would have. But then he gets out of the lab. The next day at school, they learn that Albert has somehow actually seems to be alive and has friended everybody on whatever Facebook. They didn't even really establish. This is like, everybody's friends with Albert. And Nevaeh comes up and is like, yeah, you're just catfishing everybody, right? But then what happens, Dustin?
Albert rolls in his orange Lamborghini onto the school campus, which is kind of weird. I don't know why you drive your car onto the campus itself.
That's a hell of a way to make an entrance.
Yeah, then out struts Mr. Albert, and
I don't think it's established. You can see here, maybe you could see it here, but his license plate we see later on says Meowsers.
Yeah.
Which I don't really know what that even meant.
No.
There's no like really cat imagery. Besides like that's what they call Cat Bowser in Super Mario 3D World is Meowser.
So when he gets out of his car, he like throws his key like as like a valet throws it to Jaden. He throws it,
I think, to Jaden.
To Jaden, yes. Like here, peasant.
He cucks Jaden.
Yeah, love that.
I should have let Jacob say that. And then he gives like an impassioned speech to the school talking about how much he loves May.
Yeah.
And all the girls start...
my dad, had moved here, transitioned here for work.
And to maybe borrow a phrase from our departed friend Sam Blaze, all the girls start to cream their jeans over Albert.
They really do. There's this one girl that makes noises. A girl unnamed. She's like...
Okay, she did not do
that. Was it not, Dustin?
No.
It didn't sound...
She's like, oh, Albert, he's so
Yeah, I don't know. Sounded like she was cold.
Yeah, so there's just like a crowd of
I like
girls
my version more.
following him around school. He takes like his jacket off and he's just wearing like a
Yes.
white t-shirt underneath, and like you can see
Just a husky, strong man.
husky means something different.
A strong.
We saw a husky man on the football team
Tubbs.
earlier.
Tubbs. Love Tubbs.
And cut back to the lab where we've already seen General McPhee, but this is the first time we're seeing him in the present timeline where him and the dad are in the lab, and they put together that not only there was a breakout of the super soldier, but it seems that they were hacked, and that has what caused
Yes,
this to
because
happen.
like we were saying, the whole lab, while they were, adding all these attributes to Albert, like it was all frying too, and stuff was sparking, and like the home, everything was just self-destructing kind of thing. Speaking of self-destruct.
May and Gabby are stunned because why would Albert actually exist in the physical world? Because, again, I don't really know what they thought they were making.
No,
but
yeah, exactly.
to have this person show up, Gabby starts to investigate.
And he has
it.
the Facebook page already made, because that's how it's introduced. Nevaeh says, "Oh, Albert added me on whatever the
Interesting.
Facebook thing."
Yeah.
You said that?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to recap.
Recap our recap of the movie?
Yeah. What's wrong with that? I do it all the time.
So then we get a montage of Albert being romantic. He's like having a picnic with a violinist playing for them on like the school's football
And you got to
field.
keep in mind, this is all happening like 2 days, all the stuff that goes on.
Yeah, this is still day one.
Yeah.
He's painting like a beautiful picture of May. There was something else, and I don't really
Looks like an
remember.
AI image, that we see in these modern AI art things. It's very realistic of her.
Yeah, that's usually what I think
Depiction.
of the AI art is like, yes, people do have that many teeth and that many fingers.
Yeah.
And then he tries out kind of, but not really for the football team.
Makes this guy runs to like half field, and he's like, no, I can throw it farther. And then he like runs even further, and then he throws like a missile that like knocks this guy like 30 feet back into the storage, warehouse closet thing.
And before this, actually, he cucks Jaden again, where Jaden is doing push-ups, and the coach was like, that's a new school
130,
record.
131, and he's over here doing pinky
Yeah,
push-ups.
he turns over to Albert, and he is just doing 1 billion, and the coach is like, I can't count that high, but he just does excessively or increasingly more difficult style of push-up.
Yes.
Yeah, pinky or whatever. So Jaden's like, "Mwah." But then he's not actually on the team
No.
yet.
Yeah.
Then they show Albert around town, which actually causes May to be like, oh, sorry, Jaden, I can't show you quadratic formulas.
So throughout this whole period, too, Gabby is starting to feel left out of the whole May and Albert bonding, I guess.
Yeah.
Like we kind of see her like kind of getting bummed. 'Cause she's
especially
kind of,
when they're showing her around town, and we know especially because she's got allergies.
Yeah.
Which only nerds have allergies.
I mean, as nerds, they probably never go outside. They're too busy doing their homework. So yeah, we see her sneezing a lot because of pollen.
So she's a real
The
third
part.
wheel, and May's like, can you give me and Albert some space? And it's like, bitch, you don't even know who Albert is. You don't know what's going on. We made him together. But
True.
she has to walk away. And then Albert he asks her to homecoming, and May's like, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. But then he just like goes to a music stand nearby, grabs a ukulele, and sings a cover of "Love You Like a Love Song"
Yeah.
by Selena
I love you
Gomez,
like a love
which is like,
song,
okay,
baby.
Robot can do that. But then May
She
starts
starts
singing
singing
it too.
Yeah.
And there's a full crowd of people, lots of girls. It's a good cover. It's a fun song.
We had fun.
We had a classic moment where I always make fun of Jacob when he's like, is this a real song? But I mean, I was like, is this a real song? It sounds kind of familiar.
Duddy and I knew what it was. We recognized it.
For some reason,
And
I feel like I thought it was like a guy that sang it, but maybe it's
did you say it was
Selena's
a
got
Selena Gomez song?
Dustin knew that.
Yeah.
Duddy, no.
But maybe she's just got a deeper voice.
Oh.
But then they sing it, and then everybody cheers, and then he's like, homecoming, and she's like, yeah, and then he turns to everybody and says, she said yes. I was like, oh, this is a little weird.
Marriage.
Okay. Enter Black Sigma.
Oh. Black
So
Sigma.
I think we were too busy talking about the song still at this point, so that we didn't really. So the military becomes alerted that this group called Black Sigma seems to be. They think maybe they stole the weapon or something. I had to look up on Wikipedia to be like, wait, what's going on? Because then we see Black Sigma. They're in like a van. nearby the May's house.
Probably looks like a telephone company kind of van.
According to Wikipedia, their names are Zephyr, Weevil, and Pox. As far as I know, they are not said in the movie. We tried to guess about which of them was which, and honestly, Black Sigma, they probably shouldn't have even been in the movie. They almost make no difference whatsoever.
They really don't. There's only one scene where they kind of turn him off, I guess, but that's into the house.
They turn
him off. Yeah, they're pretty useless.
One of them's Russian. One of them maybe has a different accent, and then one of them just sounds like an American.
They just need a little more conflict in the movie, just a little.
But they seem to have, they break into the Hartley's house because they're like, this guy has like some lab hookup here, and it's while Gabby and Bart are there
trying to fix the panels and stuff, right? Still, or
I think so. Actually, no. At this point, I think Bart has somehow, while he was fixing all that stuff, figured out that his dad works for like the government. And his like life has been a lie. Yeah. But they have to go hide in the closet while Black Sigma's breaking into their house, and then Black Sigma just leaves.
Yeah, well, they blow up the panels in the house, and they steal probably some kind of data off the computers.
And while Bart is freaking out, he has the great line of saying, "Just another Taco Tuesday at the Hartley."
Love that. And he's always like loud and kind of exuberant, and I don't know, he uses his hands a lot in this movie.
But then there's a great moment where Black Sigma is back in their van looking at their data, and they're seeing like, oh, his mission, or he's something about homecoming. What is homecoming? But they're something about like his mission was like amazing kiss or something. We could have had a moment where he could have said, "What is amazing kiss?" But nope, we didn't get it. Notes to you, Paul Hohen, director of this movie.
The GOAT, Paul Hohen.
Kind of. He occasionally misses. This is like a single.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it.
So then Black Sigma, they actually don't even leave. They're just outside of the house in their van. And then the military shows up with the dad. And the military shows up multiple times in this movie. And it's always full level Humvees.
Guns drawn.
Unholstered, pulled out, pointing at civilians.
So they break into the house. I guess they don't really break in because the dad lets them in. I guess he's there too. And they're looking. They're like, well, we know that their car's outside. I know my daughter's home. And
then the dad covers. He's like, "Oh, these guys! I'm just making a military game, so they're helping me as consultants, and that's why they were pointing guns coming in."
Bart starts saying, "Well, honestly, Father, for being truthful with one another." He just does this whole thing.
Yeah, he has a really great delivery here, where he's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't want to be lied to because lying is." Bad, right, Dad? And Gabby's just kind of being like, "Settle down, Bart."
And they're like, we have no idea anybody was here. Like, yeah, they broke in. They fried our computers, stole our data.
Bart and Gabby, I don't know. They were just like, we were just doing homework, and now we're going to the football game.
Sports.
So this is the only time where him having a taxi cab doesn't even matter. Because they take the cab, and this is like their neighbor comes over and is like, "Oh, taxi!" Yeah, because you step outside of your suburban home and try to hail a cab. If that was a thing, suburbanites were definitely complaining about, like, we don't like these scary cab drivers in our neighborhood. But they go to the football game, and the Russians tail them because they're like, they will lead us to homecoming.
Yes, and the big Russian guy, he's out and about, and he's trying to find Albert. Yeah, and he kind of comes across them.
So they find them at the football game, but there's like a whole entourage following May and Albert, because everybody loves Albert especially. But even kind of like there's some cast off to May and Gabby a bit, where they're like, "Oh, you're kind of cool with Albert, right, too, Gabby? May says you set him up. You can find me a perfect boyfriend, right, too?" So Gabby tells May, she's like, "Hey, there's something you got to know about Albert." And I think she even literally says, "Albert's a robot here."
Yeah, I mean, she's not hiding it from her bestie. Like, she wants. I mean, like May is so love struck, I guess, so love blind that she don't know.
She can't even hear his joints moving in robotic sounds.
We hear it a lot.
So yeah, during this conversation between Gabby and May, which is very like melodramatic, "You're supposed to be my friend. Why aren't you like supporting me with this mysterious boy that just came into my life?" And Albert's been pulled aside under the bleachers or something and is fighting one of Black Sigma. And now he has very elaborate, like, squeaky joints, and it's like, why did he should just be making those noises walking? But there's some fun stuff of like the goon punching Albert, and it's just like clang clang.
Oh yeah, this dude is breaking his knuckles on Albert's abs, on his head, everything.
The
wall. Yeah, the dude crushes the wall, and I thought I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, it was the goon, not Albert, who broke the wall, which
Yes.
seems to be a bit of an accident on the part of the movie. Be like, wait, who's the robot in this scene?
And then Albert is able to like throw him like 30 feet back into like a thing of water jugs.
Flour.
Flour, or I don't know.
Every football stand has this like a wall of flour.
Yeah, of course.
The funnel cakes.
Oh yeah.
And then he takes like his little walkie and copies his voice and says like, "Hello, Black Sigma. Bogey not here. Copy. Roger.
Victor.
And I still again, maybe I didn't pay the closest attention. But it's like, did May think she was being metaphorical when she said that Albert was a robot? Because I think Gabby literally says Albert is a robot.
Yes.
But it's still not until later on in the movie that May learns that Albert is a robot.
Like I said, she's so love-struck. She's so blinded by his amazingness, his better boyish,
And at the end, she says, "You have to tell Albert to execute self-destruct.
Yes.
You just need to finish this." And that seemed to come out of nowhere. So I laughed a lot.
Self-destruct. Oh, and
if only you knew, dear listener.
Well, we were kind of joking about it, weren't we, at this point, about the whole self-destruct?
No, that was towards the end of the movie.
The dance, okay.
I joke about later that like Albert should be killing people because
he's a machine.
Because then the game happens.
Machine.
Seems like they got there during the daytime, but then the game doesn't start until nighttime. They got there at dusk or something. This is where we learned that their team is actually horrible.
Yeah, they're losing a lot to a little, and then somebody says
the principal, who is also the announcer.
This is the closest we've ever came to winning. And they're like losing by 20.
You're supposed to pick bad team to be your homecoming game.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the running back gets hurt.
And then, where's our second stringer? And it's like some scrawny
like
white
guy looks
kid.
Like Jacob Television.
Yeah, more or less. Then they see strong, thick Albert in the stands.
And this is where
he points to him. The coach points to him. He's like, "You,
Alaska."
And Albert, me, coach, suit up.
And Jaden's like, "He can't do that." I'm like, "Yeah, he can't do that. He's not a registered member of the team."
True.
But then they ask the ref, and the ref's like, "Well, it doesn't say anything here that a dog can't play basketball or that Albert can't be on the team."
Yeah.
So he somehow gets an extra jersey. He suits up, and then he has a bunch of different plays. Most of the time, it's just that nobody can tackle him.
Yes. At one point, we see him, like, he's using his super speed where Jaden can't keep up with him. Like, he's going to throw it into one spot, and then he zips to another spot, and then he gets a touchdown. We joked about, or we noticed,
after the touchdown, he body checks all of his own team members because they all go to, like, did the stomach bump, and then they all fall to the ground because he's a robot.
The end zones are like 20 yards wide.
Because it's Canada.
The goalposts are like right in the front, too.
Yeah. Seems pretty dangerous. But we got a kick out of all his plays.
And then there's other times where it's like you think he could do like a flash kind of view where it's like he's moving slow, but it just seems like he's moving at normal speed and just like jukes around somebody. Like, wow, he's a crazy robot.
I think he scores a few touchdowns.
Three,
yes. So he scores
the zigzag one.
The zigzag,
one where he jumps over everybody,
like 20 yards in the air.
One where he like literally carries like five people from the other team into the end zone.
Yeah.
Some of this time making the squeaky robot noises too.
And the whole time the Black Sigma's there, and they're trying to hack him.
Well, they at least wait until after he like wins them the game.
Yes.
Because they're lifting him up. But then Black Sigma seems to have an EMP.
I guess they're swiping cards and
it's such an official EMP that they have to like both swipe cards at the same time, turn the keys, arm it. And again, maybe they stole that. Actually, maybe the military does say like, Black Sigma stole our EMP device. I don't know.
So when this EMP goes off, we see Albert start to like malfunction or like start to like fry. But then at the same time, like lights are like exploding, like the giant lights that kind of shine over the football field are exploding. So people are kind of freaking out. Like, what's going on? They're not really paying attention to what is happening to Albert. And then at the same time, all these military vehicles and everybody starts showing up too.
So now we're catching back to the beginning of the movie.
Yes, all the guns are drawn. People are running around, fleeing.
Yeah. They're running away from this football stadium, and the military rolls in and is pointing guns at these students.
And while this is happening, too, we notice Albert disappears from the...
We don't know where Albert actually ends up. At the end of the movie, we don't know
South
where
America.
No, that's a lie.
Yeah.
So he gets EMP shocked, and then nobody finds him.
No,
and then everything works out okay.
He gone.
And Black Sigma, they just get arrested. By the military.
The end. The rear end. Yeah.
There's some bit where they're like wearing. They were put glasses
night
on
goggle
before
glasses.
they did the EMP, but then it's like maybe acting like they can't see.
Yeah. Like, where are you? Where are you located? And then they're like in front of each other.
So really, Black Sigma serves essentially no purpose. Even like a plot purpose, I guess, is like the cover is that
EMP?
then Albert disappears.
Yes.
And we, having watched this entire movie, still do not know what happened to Albert.
No.
So this is where the girls are hiding in that alley, and they get called out by the military. They get brought back to the lab, and the general's like, okay, you did it for love? Whatever. All's good in love and war. Right, lady military person?
Oh, yes.
And then also...
we see an interesting scene with her and the one of the teachers later on. Principal, yeah.
Yeah, we don't bring it up. But then they also say, oh yeah, Albert, by the way, he has been like going around the country. He's working for us now.
South America, he's helping kids learn how to train kangaroos.
And it's like, he literally was shocked by an EMP 30 minutes ago. So I don't know how this is possible. But the girls seem to buy it.
Yeah. He's got the super speed. They saw it on the screenshot.
That's a fact.
So yeah, maybe the girls are just happy that they're not like being tried for treason or something. But I was confused. And to the movie's credit, this is all mostly explained in short order. In my opinion, this is where the movie starts to kind of sputter a bit, because May is like, I don't care, he's a robot. He was real to me.
Oh my.
And you're a bad friend for still not supporting me and my love for the robot boy. We can't let this robot boy just do stuff for the military. He's supposed to just love me because I programmed him perfectly to love me.
I'm the one that did all the inputs.
And I think we had talked about maybe last episode. This movie... I don't think this movie deserves like the amount of hate it has. No, this movie's got like a 1.9 on Letterboxd, and like that's very low for like there's movies that I've like the Twitches movies are not 1.9. Like there are movies just about every single DCOM out there. There are going to be people who like have nostalgia and liked it for the time, but something about this movie is like nobody's seen.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I thought there were a lot of funny moments in it. Like the story was kind of fun. Like I had no issues with it at all.
Well, we don't need to get ahead to final judgment.
It was a great film.
Right now, I'm saying this movie's starting to suck more.
Okay.
So then we don't know how many days passed, but we have the title card of Homecoming Day.
It was probably like a day.
X-18 location unknown. X-18 is the code name for the super soldier robot, a.k.a. Albert. May gets dropped off by her dad, and it's so sad and somber. The dad's sad, but he sticks around for a really long time to see May walk into the dance all sad.
Somebody shows up.
She runs into Jaden and Nevaeh, and they're like, hey. And Nevaeh's like, come on, Jaden. Fuck May, right? Fuck May. Jaden.
Oh my. Fuck me, Jerry. Fuck me.
But then, who rolls up, Dustin?
Well, I mean, in grand fashion, like he always appears, is Mr. Albert in a limousine.
The better boy.
I didn't catch what it was. I was like, oh, this just seemed like a car. Nothing that special. Not a Lambo.
A stretch limousine.
Stretch limo, yeah. Big
yeah. And...
should have been the taxi
The
cab.
dad's like, But then the dad's also still like, my daughter with a robot?
So yeah, they kind of like, oh, where have you been? You know, oh, here I am. Let's go. You sure you want to do this? Da, 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 da. And the military shows up.
Well, yeah, they go into the building.
Yeah. The guns are drawn.
It's like Humpy's rolling up. Soldiers walking out. The dad's stopping. He's like, hey, stop. And we just kept joking, being like, they're always like, line them up. It's like, what is the cover-up story for all of this? Like, this is like the third military operation in DC within like
a day,
maybe a week. We don't really know how long it's been after the two initial days.
So the dad has to get in the face of the military guy, and they're like literally nose to nose, spitting in each other's faces, like, if you do this, if you don't let them kiss, I won't build 18.
It's revealed here, and the dad kind of puts it together. that the whole thing about him traveling around the country was a lie.
Yes.
Because they had to trick the daughters, because they actually didn't know where Albert was. Even though he was shocked by a fucking EMP, nobody knew where Albert was, so that they were going to use Homecoming as bait to lure him out so that they could capture him.
So the dad, uses his brain powers to basically, say, no, you cannot do this. All right, we'll never build you another one. He's like, I won't build, T-38, which is going to be
X-36.
X-36, which
like
is double as better.
But times
two,
two.
Yeah. So that was kind of a fun
It's
little
going to be a lady this time.
Oh, my.
And then there's maybe something about, like, because he says, you're going to start World War Albert in there, that maybe Albert, like, fight back against the military.
Because he's a killing machine.
Because his mission is to have this perfect kiss.
Under the moonlight,
May
with the petals. Yeah.
At Homecoming.
Yep.
So then there's kind of a fun inversion. Only so fun because we're like, how much fucking time is left? 20 minutes? You're killing me.
Yeah, it was a lot, but we thought it maybe 10 minutes.
But like the military all like switches into, so the Homecoming's theme is like Paris. So they have like, mime costumes or berets, and they're assisting to make sure that
with their guns. They do have their guns on them.
Yes.
On the backs.
They are assisting to make sure the night goes perfectly for May. To help that, then, apparently they stuffed the ballot box so that May wins Homecoming Queen.
Yes.
Much to the chagrin of Nevaeh.
Heaven, she was pissed.
Doesn't believe that this should happen. Nevaeh is kind of going off about, like, May sucks, fuck May. Jaden.
Fuck May.
And Jaden says, you know what, I will fuck you. But not in the way you want. Fuck you, Nevaeh.
We're done. We're broked it up. Never what I wanted.
And then it's... I think it's just time for them to dance, because I don't think they select Homecoming King. But there's kind of a funny bit where Nevaeh is trying to tell everybody, it's like, you can't trust Albert. He's a machine. Yeah, a machine. He's like, a machine on the dance floor. He's like, he'll strike you down with any move. He's like, yeah, we move it.
Yeah, he had like 3 or 4 of these. They're pretty funny.
Which, with the way the movie turns out well for Jaden, but in the moment, it's like, this is kind of some cuck behavior. Right?
Yeah, it was really sucking the teeth of Albert there.
For
sucking the teeth.
Nah, I don't know what you're really going for there. It's one of those moments where sometimes Jacob says stuff on the podcast that does not register for me, and I just keep moving along. But this time, I'll say, stop it, Jacob. And then I think it's their time for... like their special dance, and then it like takes forever. It's like
it's literally in slow motion, like them walking, isn't it?
Actually, decent slow motion, not Disney Channel slow motion, where it seems horrible looking. And it's some fun stuff where the general's like, "All right, lights shine on the moon prop, and throw petals into the fan." And
the petals are hitting the teacher in the face, who looks up and makes eye contact with a female military woman, and I don't know.
She gives them a look and is like, hey, Papa.
Meet me in the alley after school hours.
Like, every character in this movie has to get somebody.
Everybody's getting hit in the face with flowers.
And actually, before this dance, we're missing the kind of make good between Gabby and May. Gabby apologizes, but May's like, no, I'm sorry. You were trying to tell me he was a robot. And Gabby's like, well, I just was losing my best friend and I was sad. May says, well, I've learned that I was wrong for being sad that a boy didn't like me for who I am and made a perfect boy. But now it turns out that other boy likes me. So you know what? My life has meaning.
Boys like me. Yes, she didn't know this right away because Jaden confides in Gabby and Bart at one point that, he's like, I was really meaning to ask, May out at one point, but I guess I was too scared or whatever. Or I was too worried about what others would think,
So it's really kind of whiplash from Zach being like, boys are pretty close to dogs, but maybe not like, they're kind of like cute dogs, not like, I don't know, Rottweilers or something. Oh. But this movie is like, your life has meaning if a boy likes you.
Yeah, love that.
So then part of maybe this dramatic walk into this dance is May kind of going through her mind, being like, this is kind of weird. And she does dance with him.
They're about to kiss.
I was like, do they kiss? No. They don't.
Because if they did kiss, that's when the mission would be complete.
And she doesn't know that. I know yeah. Well, I don't know if she knows that because after he goes for the kiss, then Albert says, like, I understand. look up, don't be scared.
And they're all pointing guns.
Before this too, didn't Gabby notice them and she was
yes.
like, May'll know what to do.
Yeah.
She'll know how to solve this.
Yeah, basically.
Gabby actually sees somebody with a gun.
Yeah. Up in the balcony, aiming down, yeah.
Abe Lincoln.
And this is a joke where I would have loved if
Abraham.
at this moment, like, kind of like a Michael Fredo in the Godfather Part 2 situation where she just, like, I think you do hear what he says, but, like, she would, like, lean in and whisper something in his ear. Like, what did she say? And then he just starts to self-destruct. You're like, oh, she says self-destruct.
Oh.
But no, Albert says, look me in the eyes and say it.
Say it.
And she says, initiate self-destruct sequence.
And he starts glowing.
And the general's like, motherfucker!
Dude, it's a pretty wild effect. Like, he's, like, emitting, like, a eternal blue light that shoots through the ceiling. Or
and
no.
Gabby, and Mace is standing, like, everybody's freaking out, but Mace is standing right next to him, and Gabby's like, I think you should move, May. His self-destruct makes no sense.
He shoots up like a rocket. A comet, yeah. Basically like a shooting star.
Behind a blue smoke trail. So it looks like something like the genie in Aladdin would do. He'd be like, you granted me my freedom. I'm going to Disney World. And just launches to the top of the building. It shoots
through the roof, and the ceiling literally crashes to the ground. There's a big hole looking up at the sky.
Well, that's usually what happens when somebody goes through the ceiling.
Yeah.
Is this when Jaden comes in and he's like, you see that loop? That reminds me of math equation.
Yeah, he says some smart thing.
This is where we get the cute reveal that Jaden's actually good at math.
I just really liked my tutor.
In kind of a Mean Girls moment, he was pretending to be bad so that the cute girl could help him.
Yes.
Cool. Then she's about to dance with Jaden, or Jaden wants her to dance with him, and she's like, no, I'm going to talk to Gabby. And Gabby's like, I like you, but I think I also like boys. But which boy? He's related to you. My dad? No, Bart.
When in one of our last great Bart moments is after the explosion through the ceiling.
Definite top 5 Bart moment.
Bart's like, let's give a props to Principal whatever, the great special effects.
This is the bottom 5 Bart moment.
Yes. Love that for the Principal, Fragner and Bart.
So this is really the moment where it's like, well, obviously maybe May's not a lesbian, but like Gabby could be a lesbian.
Bisexual.
It could be a cute moment of them dancing at the end or something. But it's still like, we both like boys and everything's good for us, but we'll like dance with each other as friends at the end. So that is the end. But then at least the top 3 Bart moment is then the full bloopers. It's not even really just bloopers. It's kind of just outtakes of him trying to get Gabby to dance with him. And
those were funny. Those were good.
She's giving him the cold shoulder, and it's just like him seemingly ad-libbing and being pretty funny.
He's the best thing about this film. He got the girl. That's all that mattered, right?
It's interesting because looking into him, he was on like a Nickelodeon show I'd never heard of, and made the crossover to Disney Channel.
And Paranormal Activity,
Part 4.
Yes. Legend.
Dustin, how do you feel about How to Build a Better Boy?
Better than I anticipated. Also had kind of low expectations for it.
How to Build a Better Movie.
It wasn't too bad. I don't know if it's in... I was looking, I think I've been on 9 or 10 movie episodes now. I wouldn't say it's in the top half, but it's right kind of in the middle.
I mean, you surprisingly picked good ones.
Yeah. I guess I have a knack for that.
Minus maybe like Good Luck Charlie, It's Christmas.
Yeah.
Whatever, which wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
So I think this movie is definitely not great.
It's like fun.
Good, bad. It's the amount of military in this movie. That's where the budget probably
went. It almost seems like anti-propaganda.
Nah, I mean, it's good nature. We'll get into the military propaganda stuff in a little bit.
Oh my God.
But I think I liked Zapped more. Because I think some of it is like...
Zendaya?
Zendaya's very charming.
You got a thing for Day-Day.
We'll just have to somehow, every single episode from here on out, we'll have to be like, Zendaya, isn't she just great? We'll be like, all right, you listening, Zendaya?
Manifest it. There's always someone out there listening.
But I don't know if it's Gabby's fault. A lot of her lines, like, she's the sassy nerd girl, and she just didn't work for me. But then there's Bart, so Bart was kind of good, but also, like, I don't know. The goofy elements of this was this kind of... It's no Zapped. I mean, we didn't get everybody pretending to be a dog at the end. Jacob, you seem to have enjoyed this
Oh,
one.
I love this movie. I mean, you can't go wrong with Bart. You can't go wrong with Albert. You know, what a hunk of a man.
Jacob's just remembering things about this movie.
I know. I was going into this movie, you know, and we kind of talked about
It's got like a 7-word title. You can't go wrong with that.
how the 2014 movies maybe weren't as good. You know, I mean, like you said, it had a 1.9 rating, which is terrible.
Yeah, 2014 was kind of not a great year.
But I've enjoyed most of these movies. I mean, especially this one. I really thought it was going to be like, oh, like this is like really bad. I know. I had a lot of fun doing it. That was a fun.
Yeah,
fun,
it's not the
fun
worst movie of the year. Cloud 9 is worse than this movie. Which Cloud 9, I think.
And there was even fun moments in that, breaking through the billboard thing. And,
okay, we don't need to recap
you know?
fucking Cloud 9.
I just love them all. You just can't be such a cynic, you know, people.
All 4 stars.
You 1.9 raters. Can't be such a cynic.
Our debate over tier lists at the end will be...
Definitely
Are you guys going to make a tier list?
Definitely a top 500 movie here.
That was the plan once we get through all of them, is we'll have a long live stream debate to sort tier lists.
Yes,
that'd be fun.
We'll have a,
It might be...
consensus.
But it'll just be like Jacob, like, I don't remember this movie, but I think it's still like an A.
Yeah. It's still a 4.
Not a
really
color friendship, though.
We're feeling strongly about... Let's see, check notes. I'm trying to think of some random one.
The color of friendship. That's definitely...
You're feeling really strongly about Rip Girl?
no.
Actually, I kind of feel strongly about Rip Girl.
Oh. A consensus top 130 or whatever it's going to be.
Then we'll be at 130 for a number of years.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
But if you want to let us know if you actually really hate How to Build a Better Boy...
Are you a 1.9er?
If that's the consensus. I mean, like, honestly, I think I'll probably rate that like 2 stars. So I'll be slightly above the average. Surprisingly, you can write us at awholenewpod@gmail.com or find us on various podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts. I think we finally got a review on there after a while. Not written. I assume this person, though, rated us 4 stars because our stars dropped down to 4.9. But honestly... I'll take 4 stars.
That's fine.
I think I'd maybe say we're a 4-star podcast, you know? It could be worse than that. You know, we got Jacob, so, you know?
Yeah,
it's like half a star right there. Positive or negative, that's up for you to decide. But also Google, Spotify, and youtube.com/awholenewpod.
Get on that Twitter.
Where we've had a very have had an increase in our general watch time recently, which I believe is probably contributable to this single... YouTube. We did have one person say, like, I'm going to start from the beginning, and after finding a random Zach and Cody episode, I was like, well, good luck. Not that, it's like, some people's podcasts are like, well, don't listen to our early episodes, because we were, like, casually racist that we shouldn't have been. It's just like, oh, we maybe weren't that good, and our audio quality was, at least, some of them significantly worse than, well, who knows what this episode sounded.
Wow.
But this user seems to have watched a lot of videos because she commented on a lot of the ones. And she goes by the name Ashley Flynn's Law. Is that like a Phineas and Ferb joke? Her profile picture is the sister from Phineas and Ferb. So I wasn't sure if that was Ashley. But she's taking us to task on some stuff.
Wow.
For one, big fan of Avalon High.
Okay.
We talked about who is this movie for when we reviewed that episode. Apparently her.
Wow.
She's a big fan of Arthurian legend, so it checked her boxes. Also... did not like the Tiger Cruise episode. She did. I don't remember exactly what I said. I can remember some of what I said, and we should talk about whether... Okay, Albert could have stopped 9/11.
Oh, yes, yeah. Never remembered.
Gabby, maybe. Hacking stuff, whatever.
Yes.
That checks that box. We didn't forget. I won't go off on the military too often, though I think I did in the last episode, too, so I don't know. She was not happy about that. I almost didn't find that comment because I think it was flagged for review and I didn't see it right away.
Wow.
But then she was very not happy with our Lemonade Mouth episode.
Oh, no.
And seemed stunned that we would like High School Musical 1 more than Lemonade Mouth.
Wow.
Says Troy Bolton's a douchebag and unrelatable. And I'm like, well, actually, she's not necessarily wrong. And it's like Zac Efron didn't even sing in the first movie. But
That's true.
I think he did sing later on. I mean, he was also in The Greatest Showman, so Zendaya, shout out. I actually haven't seen that movie. But then she, somewhere in that comment, says, I don't know how 3 grown men could like High School Musical more than Lemonade Mouth. And I'm like, Who is this third guy?
Who's number 3?
It's you dubbing over voices over yourself, Lucas.
Does it somehow do our voices change sometimes during the episode where you think there's a third person that we just never introduced the name of?
Maybe they're thinking Jacob when he goes low and really high,
or some weird voices.
It could have just been a typo too.
Goofy.
It's something that's like, I think it seemed like it's surprising that 3 grown men or 2 grown men.
She's our biggest critic, but she listens to all the pods.
Would like High School Musical, but it's like, well, I mean, I'll take that I'm a zigger or a zagger where people normally zig. That if we're the outliers, that we should like Lemonade Mouth more than High School Musical. I'll like High School Musical more. You know, I'm soaring, I'm flying.
There's not a star in heaven that we can't reach.
Is that the lyric?
That's the lyric.
But I did say Moe's song, that's not the name of the song. She's So Gone in Lemonade Mouth is a top tier DCOM song, but Lemonade Mouth, just weird. So melodramatic. The girl's dad's in prison. She has like a cat that died. It's a weird movie. Dustin, based on our episodes, if you remember, would you rather watch High School Musical or Lemonade Mouth?
Am I watching with you guys or by myself?
You're watching only with Jacob.
Only, oh god.
To represent my
so by myself, basically.
Are you a Boltonite?
Probably High School Musical.
You're a Boltonite, okay.
And it's like, I can't even say like, well, I like High School Musical stuff more, because it's like, well, Lemonade Mouth is a high school movie too.
Yeah.
But I think High School Musical falls much more into like the tropes where Lemonade Mouth, it's like, we're fucking punk, but we're kind of just... I listened to some of our episodes and be like, what did I really say? And at one point I did say I would probably bully the kids in Lemonade Mouth. So
yikes. I feel like kids that are... when did High School... Do you remember when that came out? High School Musical, the first one?
2006.
I was going to say, I feel like I remember kids having like pencils in school, middle school or whatever it would have been with Troy Bolton on it.
Okay, I was waiting for...
I
remember people in middle school having pencils. Whoa, dog!
High School Musical themed,
Making it sound like dinosaurs. Yeah, no, it would have been when we were in middle school. Not to date us, but we've already said we're grown-ass men like in High School Musical.
We're almost 30. Dustin's 30. We're almost 30.
I'm past the 30.
Jacob seems to always want to bring that up on every episode.
We're old.
Speaking of Dustin, he runs our Twitter account.
I do my best.
At AWN Pod.
Yeah, I often check to see if a whole new pod ever gets like unsuspended and I can take the username back, but it hasn't happened yet. So
that's funny. Where's that?
Free us. Yeah,
right.
If Donald Trump can get his accounts back, a whole new pod should be able to
that
too.
That just speaks to the war crimes that Jacob may be committed.
Oh.
You could also follow Jacob on Twitter, where he seems to be very upset about LeBron James scoring more than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I just like trolling people about that. That's
it feels
funny.
like he didn't tweet. I mean, usually Jacob just tweets being like, "Give me the free money for daily fantasy sports," which is probably why our account got first.
It's possible.
It's like, I'm picking fights, being like, I'm mad about this basketball person scoring more points.
I just like to get people riled up.
Jacob just likes to be a sports troll.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it is. The whole joke that I said...
Melissa's proud.
Let me explain. The whole joke I said that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, for half of his career, didn't have a three-point line, where you can shoot
that's
threes.
Not really a joke. That's just an observation.
Well, I observed
Seinfeld,
that.
You could turn that observation into a joke.
I observed this, okay? So then I said that,
if you... this? They didn't have a three-point line.
If he would have had this, he would have scored so many more points. But the ironic thing of it is he only had one three-point shot in his whole career, like ever. He never really shot him at all. So like people that didn't know that, wouldn't, it was fun to me. That's it.
Are you still talking?
No.
Cool.
No.
That's just the voice in your head, Lucas.
Yeah. I hear voices in my head. They... Randy Orton, I'm doing the Randy Orton pose.
I think we've done all the housekeeping. No, a whole new pop this week. I had a bottle of Mountain Dew Pitch Black in my basement, but I've already tasted it, so it wouldn't be like a fair, honest review. And I don't want to share it with Jacob.
Maybe do it next week. I can do it maybe a solo suck.
We might, yeah.
Solo
Jacob, be on the lookout for that Dr. Pepper.
Yes, that sounds really good.
We can always set stuff aside.
Yeah.
But Jacob will go out. Apparently, he's really hyped up that he's got some. We always like to have a funny bit to go out on the end. So he told Dustin about this.
He told me this on the way over. He was very excited about this, but he's like, only Midwesterners will know this.
A better brand of boy makes a butter burger better.
Digitally yours, a whole new pod.
No, let's watch it.
Type in bozo dubbed over and there's spaces between each of the words.
Is this it?
Yes.
It has 1 view and it says it was uploaded at 6 a.m. this morning.
Have you seen it? It's hilarious.
Oh, fuck. What the fuck? I'm not even supposed to be here. I hope I don't jack off.
What is this, Reggie?
I guess it's like a viral video where bozo dubs over.
Oh, fuck. A clown pewter? Fuck that. Probably got no games. I hope nobody goes home and fucks my mom.
Hilarious, right?
What the fuck's that? Like a little circle? Oh, fuck. I thought this guy's supposed to be bald.
What is this guy trying to do? Is this supposed to be what Bozo's thinking or saying?
What guy? It's Bozo. Bozo did it.
Bozo did what?
Bozo did the dub. He's doing the dub. Bozo is, not a guy.
Okay. This guy's about to jack off.
I feel like it makes more sense that a different guy is dubbing over it.
No, he's saying what he wanted to say on the show now. Bozo is. That's Bozo's voice.
This little fucking bite's a piece of shit.
Reggie, did you make this thing last night so you'd have a video to show?
No.